Welcome back to Archean, episode 4 of season 1 playthrough. In the previous episode, went ahead and did the initial programming of the mining vehicle. I'm creating a beacon so I can put that on my base and set that up. So just in case I get really lost, I can always find it. So I'm going to call this one base 1. Beacons take a little longer than I imagined. Take a look at what's going on over here. I'll go ahead and stock up. It's going to fill up pretty soon here. We got more than enough ore. I did break one of my rules in the last episode. I said always keep constructing things, specifically those things that take a long time to make, like, for example, LEDs, while you're doing something else. In the whole previous episode, I was doing all that coding, and I don't think I constructed much of anything, unfortunately. And this video, I'll continue forgetting that suggestion of mine. All right. So we don't need a cable cable, we just need powered up, and it's important powered up, and call it base 1. So that's our oops mode. So let's try this out. And we're on a roll. Now aluminum is not too hard to find. Let's just speed kicking up here. Bouncy. So typically just kind of head over to the mountains. The aluminum is, I guess, listed as, the mountain area common. So as long as you get, and there's actually a couple of places I found that, even flat areas where there's a little bit of aluminum in there. Now one thing happens, we do get a bit bouncy in here, and we do tip over a few times. It's actually possible to use the wheels themselves for anti flip over type mechanisms, as long as you don't totally lose contact with the ground. Because real cars actually have that kind of mechanism. And we can't get up any higher. Kind of looking at the so you see we got a little bit of aluminum. That should be AL, not AI. Now I made a mistake here. These are in percentages, thus if I want 10%, for example, or 1%, these numbers won't show it. These are now in tens. And I mentioned that before. I need to recode that. I don't do it in this video. Yeah, this is where I'm going. Oh yeah, these are percentages. And that's 6%, which is not horrible. So I need another decimal point in there to show that up. And I said in the next video, I'm going to change this around, and I'm putting 3 because I want 1/10 of a percent in case I find one of the more rare items, which I don't think. It could flash up there really quick and I could just miss it. But I think in the next video, I'm going to create a little subroutine that takes the value multiplies by 100, and so it always turn like, it'll be in a 0.0, so it'll do tenth of percent. Although a tenth of percent is probably not even worth bothering. I could probably just minimize it. You get 1% or don't bother even mining. And here we are trying to get up this hill a little bit. Now this thing it's not really set up for hill climbing mode. It's something I want to try in the future. And what that is maximize the grip of the tire and then put it in low gear. Also, the center of gravity is a little high on this vehicle. I would need to lower it down. And my first rollover. Now, something I didn't realize, you do not have to get out of the vehicle to reorientate it. While you're sitting in the seat, just mouse over part of the chassis, hit V, and then you can reset the orientation while you're still sitting. And I didn't realize this until like the end of the video, or maybe after the video, I realized I could have done that. So if you see me getting out and flipping it and getting back in, you don't have to do that. So I'm not using an ore scanner. Whoa. And what I figure, I just kind of drive around and, see what I see. Also want to see how the vehicle behaves, driving on the mountains and all that. Obviously, it said the center of gravity is a little too high, and we're going to pop down, and we have 4%. Probably not worth the effort. Trying to think about. So I didn't, in the last episode, I didn't program any way to turn on the mining drill. And since I'm using the data port, I can't use a switch on there. So I need to do this through the toggle, which goes to the computer. So we'll just, and I think I use switch number 3 for this. So part of the process when I recorded videos and I voice over afterwards, I sort of go over what I did and critique myself a little bit. So one thing, and I think most of these things I'll put into episode 5, the one after this, improvements. So switch 4 should operate the anchor, so I can just flip it on and off from here. The other thing is that if I flip number 3 on, which is a mining drill, it should automatically flip on the anchor. So it's always anchored when I start the drilling. Now, you can be in a position where you're too high off the ground, the anchor won't work. And in theory, pretty sure if you can't anchor it, you can't drill. Pretty sure that's true. And I mentioned there's no safety check yet. So also, there's no way to query the video, as I said before, there's no way to query the video to make sure you're actually been anchored. The only way you can do it indirectly, like if you can, for example, you could anchor it and try to move. And if you actually move, then you're not anchored. So you said indirectly, you can figure out if you're actually anchored or not for the most part, unless you're stuck, of course. The other thing I want to do is, even though I do get quite a bit of aluminum in this episode, spoiler alert, I want to try an auto anchor on if I go over a certain amount of, say, aluminum. So for example, if I go over, say, 20% of aluminum, hit 20% or higher, just to hit the anchor immediately. So basically it'll keep reading the drill as you're running around. And if you hit a high spot, it'll just slap the anchor down and stop it. Once again, it's the same problem. If you're in the middle of flying Probably should do that if the wheels on the ground. So if, we'll say, the rear wheels are on the ground, and you go over something that's useful, then throw down the anchor. And the other improvement, which if you've seen the short, you've seen that already. If you haven't seen the short, in my channel, select shorts, there's only one there. You might want to watch that. And what I do there is I use put ailerons on it to help prevent it from flipping. So once it hits the air, it will allow it to glide a bit. All right, I'm gonna speed this section up right here. I'm just sitting here drilling some low quantity aluminum, and I need, I think, 100 for 800 kilogram per prop. I'm not sure how much I need for an aileron. And so while we're sitting here, and basically while we mine, I just go ahead and take what out of the container and mine it in my suit. Okay, flip that off. We got enough. We got some aluminum, and let's see if we can't. What I'm gonna do now is see if I can't make sure I can remember where the base is at, and also, you know, kind of play around with the vehicle and see how it performs. Right now, I think we're just rolling downhill. And the regen's on, so in theory, I'm getting a little power out of spinning down. Now, if you build the vehicle wider, or just a larger physical vehicle, obviously the larger the vehicle, the less impact the small little hills will have. So the other thing I also want to do is I also want to leverage the shifter, and which means I'll use probably toggle 1. Notice how the whole vehicle lifts when I pull out the ore. So I think for a submarine, which some future episode, using containers and just throwing ore in there for weight is a way to sort of balance out a submarine or a ship. Now there is auto wheelie logic, so if you see the on ground count go to 2 or less, it's going to cut acceleration. Now it doesn't actively do things like reverse the rear wheels, you know, if you're flipping up, things like that. But at least it's not as bad without the anti-wheelie logic, which is simple enough to do. It's really tough keeping this thing on the ground, keeping this thing from flipping. Now, in my previous series, my quote-unquote catamaran slash cargo hauler, it was a bit wider than this, so it did, and I kept to the edges, so I didn't really hit the area here. Here I am getting back out, flipping it, getting back in. Once it's in, you don't have to do all that. I wonder if they'll remove that feature in survival mode, so you can't do that. They should. I mean, I can put something on there to auto reflip it back over. People have done that. Use a hinge, a little lever on it, and it just swings out and flips it back over again. And if you hit K, you can kind of back out and see what it's doing here. Yeah, so in the next episode, when I add the aileron, once I have the aluminum, I can make ailerons. With the ailerons, I can put an aileron over each wheel, and then if we hit air like this, the ailerons will help keep it level and keep it from rotating. So basically, a flat trajectory until it lands back again. Because what you see, it goes in the air a bit, and then it starts, you know, the front starts going up, and then we flip over. Or it starts twisting, and it rolls. And the ailerons, putting those over it. So basically, we turn into it. Once we're in the air, we're basically an airplane at that point. So the ailerons on there, I put 2 tilt sensors on there, and they measured that, and it worked pretty well. It's still able to flip it if you do something very extreme. It's also possible I need more, apply more control, or maybe additional ailerons on there to prevent that. But it works pretty well. If you saw that the short video, how well it, once it hit a mountain or a hill and you go fly in the air, it kind of levels it off. You just kind of fly through the air like a wingless airplane, and then you land again. Another thing too is to remove some of the flooring, because I have that big area underneath the seat, and then if you thin that out a little bit, you know, just less lift. And I think I see the little mining thing over there. Make sure I don't get too far away from where I'm going here. When you every time you start, it's the same seed, so it's the same configuration. There's actually a way to change the seed so you can have a different world generated. But currently, every time you start a new adventure mode, you get the same seed. And thus, once you start recognizing the terrain, at least around the starting area, it's kind of easy to know how to get back. So the other thing here is if I can make this thing go faster. So in the flat area, we just open up and cruise along, and we can see the little dot. So we see our mini base. The other thing I do is make it go up higher, and make it a little more obvious where it's at. And if I got totally lost, I just have to build another beacon, put it on here, and then track down the other base. So I have enough stuff on me that's not that hard to do. Okay, so as before, this vehicle is really touchy, and I think I need to have better gear, take advantage of the transmission gearing, and right now put it in low gear and slow that down, or dampen the at low speeds, damping it down more, so I have it proportional. So here I'm going to crank the grip up, so I had the grip all the way as low as it would go. So now I'm going to make it higher. So in theory, it would go faster with less grip. And I didn't see that. Now it's possible it consumes more power with more grip, but it doesn't seem to affect the raw speed any. And it's possible they're not fully implemented yet. All right. And we got all 4 wheels on the ground. All right, we'll go over here. There's some hills over there. Just kind of go over there and it doesn't seem, there's no anti-flip logic, but it seems wide enough that as long as I don't, and the steering is dampened, that I don't think I have rolled it once on a turn yet. Yeah, unfortunately, the really good stuff, like on titanium, is at the very tip of those mountains. So, oh, so here we go. Here we go. We hit air, and we just rolled over. So that'll be fixed in the next episode, or at least most of the time it'll be fixed. Also, when they're going to implement damage at some point, so I would assume that rollover would damage the vehicle, which would make sense. So it won't be as free as it is now. You just kind of roll over, flip it, and keep on going. It'll be roll over, take damage, and probably gotta reflip it yourself. That would be interesting, especially when you're moving up a mountain. You just kind of roll down a mountain, go spinning down a mountain. That should pretty much take out your vehicle. I'm not sure how they're going to do repairs. So I guess this is the time to work out how it's going to work before we get to that point. Part is I'm being a little aggressive on just to see how. Sometimes we make it. But that's the process. You build something, you try it out, and make improvements, and take it back out again. So this will be not the first vehicle I've done. The first vehicles didn't have any anti-wheelie logic, and that was the first big advance. And then the ailerons and some of the other logic I'll put in there. Now, one thing, because we have the switches laid out, I don't know if I can put labels on them. I don't think I have room for labels anywhere. Oh, we're in there. Oh. So currently in adventure mode, I mean, you just need this vehicle to get aluminum. And once you have a bunch of aluminum, then I think at that point you have to, you're going on the water or you're going way up the mountains. And that means way up the mountains requires some type of flying device. You could use your jetpack. You can just like drive close to the mountains and just fly up there on a jetpack and bring all the stuff with you and build a mining spot and then mine away. And of course the other issue is the getting gold, and gold is deep underwater. So I think in episode 6 we're going to shoot for a submarine and get some gold. Try that again. I mean, yeah, I'll probably set up I'll have to set up a ore scanner. So we have this one is getting aluminum. Episode 4 is getting aluminum. Episode 5 will be improvements to this vehicle so it doesn't roll over so often, and I'll add the automatic automate the anchor unit, so you can control the anchor or it will automatically fire. Here I'm backing up, goofing off. So we'll do those various improvements in the next one, code all that up, and we'll make the display a little nicer. So we'll kind of tune this vessel up a little bit. I'm going back and forth because I found what I thought was some good aluminum, and I thought, well, okay, but if you go too quickly, you go over it and you miss it, and then of course this vehicle doesn't move slowly, it only moves like fast, and so I'm trying to find that spot, and it's only 7%, and there's 10%. Or 2%, actually not 10%, it's only 1%. Yeah, that's how I need to format this better, because I keep doing the math in my head wrong. All right, so that episode 5 will make improvements in this, various improvements in it. We'll take it out for a test drive and play with that. Episode 6 will going to be building a ore scanner from scratch, step by step, and we'll build something simple and go over how it works, and it includes a pivot system and all that, and then look for some gold. And then while it's searching for gold, we'll go and here I am going back and forth. That's only 8%. I thought it went higher. 2%, 1%, fractions. Yeah, it was less than 1%. I'll bother. So the gold will be interesting, because I want to mine the gold using a vehicle of some sort versus just swimming down and setting up a mining course underwater and then coming back up. Because you could just build a ship and go over there and then jump in the water, go to the bottom, and get the gold, and come back up. Hope the ship hasn't floated away, I guess. I'm hoping I get a little higher here, that I get a little better shot of aluminum. And this is where having the auto anchor, if you hit a certain percentage of something, anchor it automatically. So there's only 1%. This is no good here. And enemy cart rolling over because our center of gravity is way too high. That's the other thing too, is I thought about moving the wheels in the next version, move the wheels up higher in the frame, so the frame is basically lower the frame. And so instead of putting the wheels directly on the frame, like the bottom of the frame, to kind of bring the side of the vehicle up a little bit and move the wheels up, and so you have less clearance. And and then move everything down lower as much as possible. The drill could fold and get its center of gravity down. Not sure how heavy that is, but at least the batteries and can get lower. And we got aluminum. Oh, we hit 20%. So I saw it. Now we're at 18%. Okay, so we got some good aluminum here. And this is where the auto anchor right there, 20%, perfect. And I don't have an anchor switch. I have to kind of jump out real quick and hope it doesn't move. Okay, 20%. And we're not that high up. We're just over here. 20% is a lot of aluminum. So we'll lock it and we'll start to drill out. We have that. And we're drilling. So this should give us a plenty of aluminum. We don't need a ton of aluminum yet, but the other thing too you can do, which you might argue it's a smarter thing to do, is have a vehicle without a built-in mining platform, and then once you find a good spot, basically lay out a mini base with a miner, a large battery, and might as well put a crusher on, I guess, and then a beacon so you don't forget it, and call it like AL1, and just let it mine, and then go off and do something else. Here I am raising the center of gravity a little higher. That's wonderful. And then let it mine and go off and do something else, instead of me sitting here like waiting for it to do something useful. I'm gonna speed this up by 5. Now if I was smart, I would just sit here for the next hour and mine the heck out of this spot, but I didn't want to sit around waiting. And that can compress the video and all that, but I go, I'll just do it for a while. That seems to be quite a bit of aluminum. That's all I need right now. More enough to build a sub and an airplane. So we'll call that good. And then, we'll make improvements. We'll zip, if we need more, we'll zip over here with the auto anchor mech stuff, and we'll find another good spot, and maybe even a better spot, and go for it. There's a lot of options, a lot of possibility. I'm kind of like planning out how to get back, looking around the area. I still get a kick out of the driving, the physics driving. Yeah, I consider like building an airplane with wheels only. In other words, there's no props on it. And basically, it's sort of a practice plane. So basically, take it up to 180 kilometers per hour or 120 miles per hour, and just try to do small hops. Obviously, once you're off the ground, you would lose any forward propulsion, but you can do mini hops, and it's just practice controlling flight. And what you should be able to do is just drive it, and once you have enough speed, just kind of pull back on the stick, and in the air you go, and turn to a glider basically, and then glide for a little bit and come back. Or if you hit one of these edges, you should be able to just power off one of these small peaks there, and just pop up in the air and fly for a little while. So kind of interesting to see how well that works out. And then once you're in the air, like for example, the auto wheelie logic will basically kills acceleration once you're in the air. So it would say power, the wheels will no longer be propulsion. It'd be nice if they had thermal lift, and so you can actually build a glider. That would be very interesting. We're zipping back, remembering maybe I should make something while I'm cruising here. Get some bouncing. Suspension is interesting. You can control how stiff that suspension is. I think I'm on the default right now, so suspension might be a little on the bouncy side, so maybe tighten that suspension up. Also, obviously a heavier vehicle would not bounce around as much. Yeah, purposely. See, right now the way to design it is just the front lifts up. Yeah, and then we roll. And we slide down. Yeah, good thing we don't have vehicle damage right about now. Yeah, I still haven't figured it out. You don't have to get out. Just checking around, see where I'm at. Yeah, I'm over there to the right, I think. Yeah. Yep, down that way. So that little peninsula down there is where I'm at. Okay, we're at 5x right now, which would be what, 1,000 miles per hour? Yeah, that'll get us in the air. Yeah, just remember I have a little bit of ore left in there. Might as well crush that up while we're driving. And you see that little bitty mark on the ground there. Yeah, the other thing is how we can make this thing go a little faster. This put more wheels on it, and now to make sure I don't go into the water. See, it just goes. I need a little too much power, and we zip back. And we zip forward. And we go back. Okay. And that's good. Nope. That's good enough. Keep my finger next to that 4 key so I can hit that brake. Okay, we're back. Now I'm going to hook up. We can go ahead and charge up these batteries. So let's get rid of that. Well, we got one of those. Bridge. We don't need a bridge. Yeah, we need bridges. We need a junction. So we'll tap off the generator here. Actually, I don't want to use that one. That goes to that side. Over here, because this battery is, even though it's fully charged now, it is slowly discharging because it's driving the geothermal units, which each consume 1,000 watts. So 10 of them consuming, I guess, 10K of power. And then we'll hook this side up somewhere here. And connect that to that. Now we can actually go forward a little bit. There's a little bit of stretching there, not very much, so we can actually move around a little bit. Okay, so we are slowly charging here. And we got stacked on top, so we have a nice high center of gravity. It's always a good thing to have. All right, so we got aluminum. We can, that's important. We can make some props and some ailerons and move into the next phase of this game of flight or even submarine your ships. You gotta have that aluminum next. Until next time, see ya.